So will we have one 30 home run hitter? For context, we had 0 last year. The most recent non-Rafael Devers 30 home run guys we've had are Tyler O'Neill in 2024, who had 31, Hunter Renfroe, who had 31 in 2021. And since other than that, we have not had anybody outside of Devers since 2019, so pre-COVID season. Nobody on this roster has ever even hit 30 or 25 home runs in a season outside of Trevor Story, but he lost it in 2019. Will we have a 30 home run hitter this season?
Zips projects the
They
Red
said we
Sox
won't even have a 20.
20,
so.
which should be the first time since 1974, which is crazy. I don't think we hit 30. I think me and you should probably think the same thing. Let me ask you this question though: if we do hit 30, is it Contreras, Abreu, or Anthony? Which one of those three guys do you think will hit 30?
I would rank likelihood as Roman, then Willier, then Contreras.
I actually put Willier first.
I think it's fair.
Especially, and watching him WBC was great. And the comments, Cora has talked about him hitting lefties. This is his year. If anyone's going to hit 30 home runs, I put Abreu first.
60-40, a Red Sox podcast. Big John and Sean, hot takes, special guest. This is 60-40. Hey.
Finally, we have returned to the studio. We are the most electrifying podcast in Red Sox Nation. I am your co-host, Big John. Alongside of me is Sean, Mr. Basketball Jones, ooh baby, ooh. And together we are 64 Deep Red Sox podcast. Sean, that song, do you know that song? I Got a Basketball Jones?
I don't think so.
You've got to watch. I mean, if you want the reference of it, a really good reference of it, it was a song in the 90s that were big, but the original Space Jam has that in there. So it's like almost like a, what am I looking for? It's like a slow jam type thing, but it's a great song.
Sounds good. I'll have to check it out. I've seen Space Jam, but I probably just don't. It's been a long time. I was like younger when I saw it, so I don't remember every single part of it or song in it, but yeah, obviously a classic. So.
Mr. Basketball, I Got a Basketball Jones, it's called. I'm telling you right now, and all the old heads around my age are listening to this I can't believe Sean doesn't know that song, but I actually can remember where in the movie where they play it, Charles Barkley is playing with the kids outside the school. He lost his mojo at that point. He's like walking away, and then the Basketball Jones song comes in.
I know. I feel like I need to do my homework more. Whenever you're dropping these references, I'm like batting 1 for 10 so far.
You'll get there. You'll get there. This is my favorite time of the year. One of my favorite times of the year. There's a few times I have that are my favorite. This one I love because we got March Madness going on. So in my opinion, those first 4 days of the tournament are by far the best 4 days of a tournament. I just think everyone, I call it, in New York City, they call it Father's Day. I'll give Craig Carton him a lot of credit. He was calling it Father's Day, and he's 100% right. It's our real Father's Day for us to watch this, right? People take off from work during the week and watch March Madness. That's great. And then opening day is right around the corner. And a lot of my friends that aren't even diehard baseball fans, like maybe me and you are, everyone starts a season watching baseball. It's a national. I actually believe it should be a national holiday. We all take it all.
Opening day.
There was about 10 years ago. People petitioned for it. I'm like 100%. We should have opening day as a national holiday. What do you think, Sean? Do you agree?
I would not say no to that. I'll tell you that. There is nothing worse than being in the office and the team's first pitch is at like 105 and you're like, God damn, I got to find a way to.
I took off this year.
Get this on the screen. Oh, really? Nice.
I took off.
Or they're in Cincinnati, right? Yeah, to start. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I took off the day to watch Cincinnati, which I think is 26th, right? Which is a Thursday, Friday?
It is a Thursday.
Right. And then I also took off the Red Sox home opener. I won't be there this year, but that's like a 1:00 game. And that's one where I want to be able to sit and watch it. When I was younger, and the Red Sox weren't that good in the early 90s, my dad would bring me to Patriots Day every year. That was great to go to that. So yeah,
that's fun.
We got it, man. We made it. We made it to the winter. And the other thing about this too, and we'll get into what we're going to do today in the show, but the other thing I love about the opening day of baseball is that everyone, for the most part, believes they got a shot.
Yeah.
you start talking yourself into it. You hear it with us and other guys too. You start off the winter, we're bashing Craig, rightfully so. We're upset with what the Red Sox are doing, rightfully so. And then as it goes on and spring training starts, we start talking ourselves into things that we believe are going to happen. If this guy has a big year, maybe this guy looks really good. Have you seen him play? Even if I'm a White Sox fan, I can get excited. Where I can say, like, we got Murakami. Maybe he's got something.
Kyle Teal.
Correct. Pirates, right? Pirate fans, they're thinking to themselves, wow, we finally got some offense.
They got a good rotation.
Everyone goes into the year talking themselves up, and then May happens, and then reality sets in. But until May happens, for the first month of the year, everyone feels good about their team.
Yeah, and there's going to be 3 to 5 teams that are way worse than we expect, and 3 to 5 teams that are way better than we expect. And we don't know which those teams are going to be which, but that's the fun part, is seeing how it'll play out. And it is such a marathon too, and we've seen this firsthand with some Red Sox teams too, where you can get off to a very slow start and still end up having a really good year, or vice versa. We've seen the collapses. We've seen the slow starts that lead to, really good seasons, and not just the Sox, but across baseball. So it is a marathon, not a sprint, but it's easy to get excited about it feeling like a sprint the first week of the season.
And that today's show is going to be about 2026 season predictions. We're going to get into that for the Red Sox. Sean, something you wanted to do all off season. This is the perfect time to do it. I'm just going to give you a little bit of foreshadowing on DraftKings. I actually have a parlay where I have the Red Sox and the Pittsburgh Pirates winning their respective divisions.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know that's what I have right now. It's like $5.
You're off the Orioles now? I guess they never added the big time starter, but
well, they were my biggest threat. I'm still scared of them. I still think they have a good shot of coming in second, or knocking off the Red Sox, or knocking off the Yankees. I'm actually more afraid of the Orioles than I am of the Blue Jays. That's just my personal opinion. But like I said, we'll get into it tonight. We're gonna have some fun. I love doing this over/under thing. I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's recorded. People will have receipts. We'll come back to it at the end of the year, see whether or not how right or wrong we possibly were. We'll find that out too. But Sean, we got to do what we do every time and drink some beers.
Drinking beers, we drink some beers, drink John and Sean. We're drinking beers, we drink some beers, drinking beers.
I'm just gonna stop. I have a Frost Buddy again. I use our Frost Buddy, and it's hard to pour. I'm gonna have to unscrew it and pour out of it because there's a lip on it, and there's no way of getting the can on the side of the glass. So I have a lot of head. I got a lot of head. What do you got, Sean?
We got to get the sponsorship going with Frost Buddy, man.
We do. I need to reach out to them.
Reference dropping, and
they do a great job.
I have other half. The beer is called Greenbacks. It's a double dry hopped IPA. The description says a hazy IPA brewed with a hand-selected blend of hops, giving notes of lychee, mango, berries, and citrus.
I'm not a big lychee guy, though.
Yeah, that one did scare me off a little, but I was like, it's probably ever so slightly of a hint of it, so I'm not too worried about it. But other half is out of Brooklyn, which I've actually been to their brewery many times. I've got some friends that live out in Brooklyn, and we've walked it. So it's right on the water by the Brooklyn Bridge. One of my favorite breweries, actually. They have a really, really good IPA specifically, and they occasionally distribute down here to Atlanta. So always try to scoop one up. They had a couple that I had before at the bottle shop, but wanted to switch it up. So I've not tried this specific one, but I'm excited.
Do you think they actually hand-picked it? Like when you were at that brewery, someone actually really hand-picking the hops? You think so?
I don't know. I'd like to think so. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
They're looking at it and say, this
the beer is good.
This beer's going to Shaw. Let's make sure we hand.
They're looking at the hops. They're like, yeah, I don't know about this one. Throw that one out and get the next one. Very solid, though.
I'm bringing one back because I have to, because it's been in my fridge for a few weeks. So I had it before in the show. I don't want it to skunk on me. It's the Rare Vos by Omegang. Yep.
Yeah.
Which I said they're brewed in Cooperstown. With baseball season being right around the corner, I feel
fitting.
like, having a Cooperstown style beer is good. It's an amber ale with orange peel, grains of paradise, and coriander. We talked about that last time. That's just buzzwords for me, for those highfalutin folks who know what the hell those things are. For me, it probably just tastes like spices. But actually, the last time I had this one, the amber orange peel came through on the beer, and I thought it was very, very good. It's unlike your beers. Right, the IPAs, I can't have more than like 2 or 3 at a sitting, it's just too full heavy for me. This amber ale is kind of in between, like you're chugging Keystone Light or Milwaukee's Beast, and you're not drinking an IPA, so it's kind of in between. Maybe I could finish maybe 3 or 4 of these. But let me ask you, Sean, when you're watching March Madness, is an IPA your go-to?
It is. As we've discussed off air, I'm a big Duke basketball fan because I'm born and raised in Durham, North Carolina. So they've been my team really growing up my whole life. So yes, yesterday was watching the Duke TCU game, cracked open. I had a couple left of, I forget the name of the brewery, but one of the 4-packs I had for the show, I had a couple left extra. So I had one for the first half, one for the second half. So that was my go-to, yes.
Okay. I just didn't know whether or not, right, if you're watching basketball all day, how many IPAs you can have if you're watching. But I guess it keeps you, so you're not reaching for beers constantly.
Yeah.
Not going, like, I know this is a baseball show, but it's March Madness and you're a Duke fan and I'm, we're in UConn, so I'm big in the Big East. If they can get through Kansas, Duke versus St. John's is going to be one hell of a matchup. After watching the 2 Duke games, I know they have guys that are injured on their team as well. If St. John's can get to them, it might be a problem.
We'll see. I'm weirdly not overly scared of St. John's because they've been kind of like the hot, trendy pick for this year's tournament because they, won the Big East, kind of cruised over UConn and played well down the stretch of the season. But their biggest weakness by far is their offense, and Duke's defense is like top 5 defense in the country. So I feel like Duke will be able to make things a bit ugly, and I kind of trust them a little bit more offensively than I do St. John's. So I personally am actually more scared of Kansas. I just think that their upside is bigger because of what Darren Peterson can be. And I think Flory Badunga, the center, is also very good. They've got some other good role guys. So we played him earlier in the year without Peterson, and it was a pretty close game for most of the game. So that would actually scare me a little bit more. St. John's,
where was that game?
So. It was neutral site. I think it was Madison Square Garden or something like that.
Because UConn went and played Kansas at Kansas, and we won without Peterson there, and they won. But it was a close game. It was a very, very tight game.
Yeah.
I've watched both those teams play. I've watched St. John's play in 3 games. UConn blew them out 1 game. They are a Patino's a great coach. They are a problem if you don't understand how to deal with them. Their defense is lights out. Zuby is going to be a problem. They're interesting. I know they're a trendy pick, but they are absolutely, they remind me of some of those Florida State teams back in the day. Those really good defensive Florida State teams, but better coached.
Yeah, that's fair. I just feel like their strengths are, size, physicality, defense, and I feel like that's also kind of Duke's strengths. So I think that they're well positioned to get a less physical team kind of out of their rhythm. But as far as Duke goes, I feel like they match up well. But we'll see. Those could be famous last words, obviously.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it should be exciting. No matter the whole bracket should be exciting. So we'll see.
Yeah, the East region is pretty stacked. I mean, it could end up being Duke, Michigan State, UConn, and then whoever wins the Kansas St. John's game. So that's a pretty insane top 4 right there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, 26 Red Sox predictions. Sean, this is something that you're going to lead today because you've been wanting to do it, and you did a great job putting together a list. Again, me and you have not seen, I have not seen what your thoughts are. You've just given me the topics we're going to have. I'm prepared for them. I'm going to turn it over to you, Sean. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. So just to explain this, how the segment's going to work, I've put together a number of basically over-under lines or yes or no questions based on stats for both at the team level for the Sox overall and also at the individual level for a number of their players. For the listeners, as John just said, he has not seen the lines, so this will be kind of live reaction here. We'll both give our take over under or yes or no, depending on what the question is, and we'll discuss from there. And so I'll ask you, John, do you want to start more at the individual level or the team level?
Let's start at the individual level. I got a lot of the individual level of my thoughts up on the screen, so I can hit on them. So we can start there.
Let's do it. Okay, the first one is Ranger Suarez over under 157.1 innings pitched, which is oddly specific, but that is his career high. So basically, will he pitch the most innings he's ever pitched in a season this year, or will he not? And I will toss it to you. Do you think over or under that?
You know what's frustrating? It's under. I'm going to go under with him because we're going to watch the season start. We started seeing already Cora talking about that he's not even ready to go in the Cincinnati series. They're going to wait for him to pitch, I think, at the home opener or San Diego series. I think he's scheduled to go then. So that shows you that they're going to baby him. especially coming out of the WBC. I think that's
Yeah.
also an issue is why, because coming out of the WBC, they're saying, okay, we're gonna limit the innings on you. You've never gone more than 157 before. So I'm gonna go under with Ranger Suarez. And my frustration about that is we knew he's never been a monster for innings pitched yet, but you gave him a gigantic contract like he's supposed to be able to pitch 200 plus innings. So I look at that and say, Breslow, I get it. Get me to October baseball. If he's healthy in October baseball, I prefer that for him to be able to pitch when it matters, but he doesn't look like to be much of a workhorse. And I think Boston knows that as well. Where do you have
Yeah.
him as?
I also had under on this, and the biggest reason is just because all of the depth that the Sox have. Like, I just think that if there's a time where he is banged up or, they just they have the luxury of not needing to like rush him back. So plus, he's firmly in his prime, but like anytime you're asking someone to put up a career high in any stat, it's like you should probably bet against it in general. So that's why I'm going to go under as well. I think what you said makes sense too, coming off the WBC. A lot of those guys, are obviously they've had reps, but it's a different kind of reps. So you still have to like kind of get back in the motion of a typical training camp and back into the motion of a typical major league season. So could take a little extra time there, like you mentioned. So I'm going to go under as well.
Before we move on, who's going to start that game though? Is it going to be Tolle or early? The game they're skipping Suarez over on.
I definitely don't think Tolle. I would be
It's gonna
pretty
be early?
surprised. I could see early, but we talked about the service time thing. Do you know, does he have to, the amount of time he has to spend in the minors, does that have to be to start the year, or can that just be any amount of time?
I don't
during the
believe so.
year?
I think it's any time. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure it's any time. It's just the total number of games that you were up or days. Sorry, it's many days that you're up in the majors for 2026. So
Okay.
they could
Then I
easily
would lean
start him.
early, probably. Yeah, I think that would make sense. We talked about it. He's pitched well during spring training. I think he had the inside track to get the fit spot if we hadn't traded for Oviedo or if we didn't sign Ranger Suarez. So I think early probably makes the most sense. It seems like Sandoval is not really ready.
Sandoval's not ready.
Cutter Crawford.
He won't even
seems
be
to
in the
not
bullpen.
Really be
Yeah,
ready
not
yet
ready.
either. If one of those guys was ready, I actually would have said one of them, just because it's still easier to just start early in the minors, and those guys have been in rotations in the past for full seasons. But yeah, with those guys just still not ready, I think early makes the most sense. But we'll see, obviously.
Okay, so we both have under.
Yeah.
What's next, Sean?
Okay.
What do you got?
We got Wilson Contreras over under 24 and a half home runs, which for context, he had 24 last season. He had 20 last season, and his career high is 24. So again, if you're taking the over on this, you would essentially be banking on him having a career high in home runs. Not to say that he hasn't come close to that number. He's been in the low to mid 20s multiple times throughout his career. And we've also talked about the fact that he, the games played thing has been a factor for him, where he's been on pace to hit more than that, but just hasn't gotten up to like 130, 140 games played at any point, just because he was playing catcher, and just, that position, you're going to have more wear and tear, and not you'll just get more days off than a typical position would. So I'll open to you. Over under 24 and a half.
Over. And what's funny, because you just made the comment, career year coming off, right? Do you ever do that? And I think over. So, right, he's never played more, at least the last 4 years. The most games he plays 135 last year, which is career high. Hit 20 home runs, 15 the year before, 20 in 2023, 22 in 2022. Never done it. Breslow noted his increased ability to pull the ball in the air. His Savant profile has him at 90.6 average exit velocity, 49% hard hit rate, 39% barrel rate, all in the top 20th percentile, top 5 percentile bat speed, which I know has been declining. Tips has him around 18 to 22 home runs. And for just because an old head like myself, I got to remember it's 2026 and what league average has become as pitching has gotten better and spin rates have come up and down. It's been a mess. It's hard for someone old like myself, but league average for first basemen, approximately 22 home runs in 2025, and the AL East averaged 24 home runs. I gave you a lot of stats to say, I think if Contreras can get at bats this year, and I believe he's going to get at bats this year, he's going to play him at first. I'll DH him at times. And with all those other numbers going there, and they keep him healthy, and this is a team in the playoff contention, which St. Louis has not been at, I think he hits 25 home runs this year. I think Fenway pushes him to 25 home runs because in St. Louis, he was playing in a very much a pitcher-friendly ballpark. And all those stats I just spewed out at you is enough to make me feel confident enough for him to be able to do it. And I think he plays 150 games this year. No, 145 games this year. I'll put him 145. What do you have, Sean?
I have the under, and I think your logic is relatively sound, just in the sense of like, I do think it's more of the ballpark's going to be more friendly for his swing. I think that, in years past, he's like still played a little bit of catcher. Like they're not even going to try that. He's going to have a very little competition for at bats at first base. So he should, in theory, be able to get close to that career high mark in terms of games played. Like you mentioned, he's had like the year he hit 24 homers, which was his career high. He only played 105 games in that season. So like he's had years where he was well on pace if he had the games played to crush this number. But ultimately for me, he turns 34 in May, and I just can't comfortably I can't feel good about projecting a guy at 34 years old to have the most home runs he's ever had in a season, even though there are external variables that are, maybe favoring him more. But even last year, we talked about like 135 games. That was, the second most he's ever played in a season last year, and he still only hit 20. Like he had a good year still, 80 RBIs. We'll take that. Just under 800 OPS. Like I think if he replicated what he did last year, no one's going to say it was a disappointment or anything like that. But, his per 162 games is 26 homers. So that's just barely above that number. And he's obviously not going to play 162. So if you shave 15 to 20 games off there, that's probably still the best case scenario. So you probably take a couple homers off there. I still think he's going to hit 20 plus. I think he's going to hit in the 20 to 24 range most likely, just because that's kind of where he's been throughout his career. Again, I don't, I just think it's really tough to project a guy at age 34 to put together a type of season that he never has consistently throughout his entire career. Not even just not consistently, but has not even done it once at any point.
Hear you. I do hear you. That 13.9% barrel rate that he had last year, he puts that bat in the ball and he hits it with anger. And so I think he's got to do his damage in Fenway, where he's very much a pull heavy power hitter. He is. That's his profile. So I think he has a shot to do it. He's never had a ballpark like Fenway Park with the Cubs or St. Louis that have ever been able to actually match his swing. And he was close last year, right? And so if I think it's 145 game, which is 10 games more, that's why I think 25 is 100% within reach for him. Because I mean, in St. Louis, if you look at his per at bat home run, if he gets 145, he's probably at 22 or 23. So he's not that far off. You're just hoping that Fenway Park factors just bumps him off. Look, if we get 25 home runs from him this year, what did Bregman have for us last year? What was his pace?
I think he had like,
was? Go ahead.
I can pull it up. I think he had 19, if I remember incorrectly, and he played like, let me look. Or 18 homers, 114 games. So let me do the math on that for.
So if he gets to 25 home runs, it's pretty much the same as Bregman. And I know that we wanted the impact bat, but it's pretty much the same as Bregman. And we're not going to feel it as much as losing Bregman this year, which is why, that's why I actually feel very good about this team. I really do believe we're a better team this year than we were last year, despite everything. And I know Bregman fell apart during the end of the last year, but we still made the playoffs, right? We still went to a game 3 against the Yankees. So it's not much different.
Yeah, that's fair. And I pulled up like Contreras. So last year, I think he had down power season kind of just from a rate perspective of hitting homers. But if you look at the previous 4 seasons, so 2021 to 2024, 2 years with the Cubs, 2 years with the Cardinals, he had 78 homers across 450 games. So if you do the 162 game pace for him there, that's 28 actually. So, he's been above that pace over in recent seasons before last year. Again, I don't think he's going to play 162 games, but even if you shave 20 games off that, that's still probably pretty close to around that 25 number. So there is a case to be made for it. I mean, even 2 years ago, he had 15 homers in only 84 games. So that's close to 30 home run pace right there. So it's not crazy.
And he hit 20 in 100. So 2000, I know he's getting younger and younger the farther we go down. But
I know.
2023, he hit 20 in 125 games.
I know. I think that is sort of like I see how it could happen. And he's proven that if certain circumstances fall his way, he's obviously capable of doing it. Just like what you just said is kind of why I picked what I picked, is like the further we go back, I'm like, yeah, well, I said the 4 seasons before last, like he was 29 during the first part of that, and now he's going to be 34. So like that's a pretty big difference. And I do think just the wear and tear of playing catcher could catch up to him eventually. I know he's not doing that anymore, and we have seen examples of guys that moved to first and at least are, have a little bit of a revitalization. Mike Napoli's a very good example for the Red Sox, actually. It's probably a good comp for Contreras and the impact he could have this year. But I'm just saying that it is just kind of tough to like project that. And Napoli, even when he was a catcher, was hitting 30 plus homers.
I was just going to say that
Yeah.
Napoli was a 30 plus homer hitter before he got to Boston.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 100%. So,
yeah.
I hear the logic. I think there's some, legs behind it, but I feel like I'd be looking at it from a little bit too optimistic of a view based on his career. How many guys have ever age 34 hit a career high in home runs? Like, it's probably, I'm sure some people have, but I bet it's a very small list. And so to sit here and confidently say that I think that's going to happen is I don't feel good about it.
But can I pencil you in, Sean, that you think he's going to hit at least 20 home runs this year?
Yes. Yeah. I do think that. 20 to 24 is the sweet spot for what I'd say. But again, that's just based on the fact that he's been pretty consistently there, and I'm very much a just sample size guy. And I'm like this, I mean, for 5 to 8 years, however big the sample is, like he's hitting that 20 to 24 range. So like, I feel good that he's going to be there. I think he has the upside for the 25, but again, I'm going to just go slightly under. Like, I bet it'll be like 23 or something like that. And then, and again, if he hits 23 and plays good defense at first and it's got a 800 plus OPS, like we're going to say it was a good year.
I'm going to cut this right here. I'm going to cut this, you saying that, in case he hits 10 home runs this year. Just so we have it. Right. Just so I have it. Sean
can't totally rule it out. He did in 2018 with the Cubs, 138 games, 10 homers. So that he's had weird outlier low.
He was like 15.
But again, that was 8 years ago. So again, I'm not going to put too much stake into that.
But I think he's going to hit 25 home runs this year. I think I actually have him projected around 27. That's where I have him at. But there's been cases of guys, at age 33 season where they've absolutely just fallen off a cliff. Brian McCann is a great example where he just absolutely died. Like, that's a power hitting catcher that was gone. I don't think Contreras is McCann, but they are showing some of the similarities of decreased bat speed. However, he being Contreras, 90.6 average exit velocity, which is very good. That's better than Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger at 88, somewhere around there. So he actually still stings the ball, and the barrel rate is still phenomenal. So that's why I think that's why I believe he'll have 26, 27 home runs this year.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. Moving to the next one. I've got Aroldis Chapman, over or under a 2.5 ERA. And for context,
over.
He had a 1.17 ERA last season. I don't think there's really any debate, the best relief pitcher in baseball last year. He was absolutely lights out. I mean, he went, 3 months without even giving up a run or something like that. I mean, he was just insane how good he was for the Sox last year. He has a 2.52 ERA for his career, so just 0.02 above the line we set here. But I'll also call out that before last year, he had a above a 3 ERA every single year since 2019, and he is now 38 years old. So I know you said over. I am going to agree with you that I think that last year was, it was wonderful and it was great, but the odds of him replicating are, I feel like, unrealistic.
In a lot of seasons, Aroldis Chapman last year would have been your Cy Young. He had a year better than 1992 Dennis Eckersley with the A's. That's how good of a year he had. He set a streak of 50 batters faced without a hit, third longest ever. right?
Yeah,
But
that's
to your
crazy.
point, it's crazy. He's 38 years old but he's 38 years old U.S. years. It's like dog years. And 38 years old in Cuba years. And U.S. years, he's probably 40 plus, right? He lied a couple of years about his age. The guy's got like 41, 42 somewhere, and he's in phenomenal shape. But you know what we saw last year too? Is we saw regression last year. Late season fastball velocity dipped and started leaking out over the plate. He started to get hit at the end of last year. He was still don't get me wrong, he was still better than the Kenley Jensen years that we had, but he was immortal on the first half of the year. And by September, October, you started watching actually him struggling a little bit. There was actually I forget what game it was. Maybe no, it wasn't the Yankees. He blew a save at the end of the year. You could see teams were starting to hit him. And I wonder whether or not if that was just him just getting tired from use, or whether or not he's just his age catching up to him. And to ask him to do what he did last year is going to be, I think, is unrealistic, especially with a year older. And I don't think the Red Sox need him to be that good. But we also take it for granted how great he was.
Yeah. No, I agree. But that's the thing, though. I put the line high because I knew if I put it closer to where it was last year, we'd both just easily go over. For context, he could double his ERA last year, literally double what it was.
What was it at?
And it was 1.17.
Yeah.
He could double it and comfortably be under this line. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't have to come close to being as good as he was last year to still hit the under on this. Like, he could literally give up twice as many runs as he did and still be under on this line. So, like, that's one to give context on just how absurdly good he was last year, but also to say, like, he could still be a top 5 to 10 closer in baseball and not come close to what he was last year, which would still be okay.
You know, some crazy stat. Like, this is what I'm telling you. This is why he'd be a Cy Young, and he'd won the Cy Young if Skubal or Crochet wasn't in the AL with him. The average closer ERA in 2025 was approximately 3.20. Right, so he is that much lower, 3.20. And I hate WAR as a stat, but I'm gonna use it here as for comparative. He's a closer, and his WAR was 3.5. That's outstanding for a closer.
Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah,
3.5.
That was career high for him. Yeah.
Well, 2024 was 0.3, and 2023 was 0.9.
Yeah.
He was a 3.5. That's like Duran's 7 point whatever ERA WAR he had a couple years ago. Look, his 16-year career ERA is 2.84. If he's anywhere near 2.84 this year, I am more than happy at a 38-year-old Chapman giving us a 2.84 ERA. But the big difference between last year, 2025, and his other years was he was able to command the strike zone. His wildness has always been a concern. We'll see. As long as he's able to command the strike zone again and be very good at his control, I think he'll have another elite year. Is that fair to say, Sean? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing you mentioned, like, his walk rate was way down last year. Like, his strikeout rate was a little down from where it's been for most of his career. He's got a per 9 innings strikeout of 14.6 for his career. It was 12.5 last year. So still a really good number. Don't get me wrong, but it was a little bit down. But even with that, his strikeout to walk ratio for his career, 3.26, it was 5.67 last year, which was
crazy.
A career high by a pretty big margin. So, like, even with the strikeouts being down, he still had a career high there, which tells you how infrequently he was walking guys. He only walked 15 batters last season across 61.1 innings. And I mean, aside from just looking at stats, like, I have so many memories of when he was on the Yankees, and he wouldn't give up a lot of hits, but he'd walk the bases loaded and make him put himself in these jams, and it was always stressful, kind of similar to how Kimbrel was towards the end of his Red Sox tenure. But he was just so consistently in the zone last season, and there was some comment about how Connor Wong taught him how to aim or something like that, which is hilarious. He's just not aiming before that. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe that was a true revelation that he had about aiming his fastball, and that's been the big difference. But I don't know. I think it's so unfair and unrealistic to think that he could come close to what he did last year at this age too, at age 38 this year. I still think he can be a really good asset for the Sox, and I think they're back into their bullpen with him and Whitlock is, probably one of, if not the best 1-2 punches in the majors.
If Slayton comes back next,
if Slayton is his normal self, the back end is really strong. And so I think that, and with Whitlock kind of emerging last year and Slayton healthy now, I think there'll be a little less pressure on Chapman, because I think last year it kind of was like it was Chapman, and then Whitlock started off the year a little shaky. And then the rest of the bullpen was very much question marks after that. But I think this year he's got a little bit more room for error because of the other guys we have. So I don't think it's going to be way above 2.5. I still think it's going to be sub 3. If the line was 3, I would have said under, but it felt kind of unfair to make it 3 considering he had a 1.17 last year. Even 2.5 is like
4 over 16 years is his average career ERA. I'm telling you, when the average closer ERA last year was 3.2, getting 2.84, I would sign up for every year.
That's what I'm saying.
Especially in 2021, right? Remember that 2021 run that we had where we had absolutely no bullpen and we had like Brazier coming out. I'm like, when Brazier would come out of the bullpen, I would absolutely, it was like that was Jordan Hicks for us, right? I was losing it. The Red Sox have, I would say, a top 5 bullpen in all of baseball. And that's with Chapman at a 2.84 ERA if he gives us that.
No, I agree. And we talked about this. I'm a little worried about the depth of it. I think the back end is really, really strong, like 7, 8, 9. I feel really good about that. They signed, haven't even talked about this, but they signed Kalum, obviously, as the lefty guy. I think there was a little bit of
Conley. You see Conley too?
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Canley,
but that was
sorry,
minor league deal. Yeah, Tommy Canley. That was a minor league deal, so we'll see. So that makes me feel a little bit better. But no, I agree. I think the bullpen is one of the strengths of the team. But a huge part of that is because Chapman was so good last year. So again,
on your bullpen point, what's up with it doesn't matter who has Greg Weissert, they're gonna abuse the hell out of his arm. And at WBC, Italy would not stop pitching him. I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's Cora,
exactly.
Or if it's Cervelli, they're going to abuse the hell out of Weissert and make sure he pitches like 30 innings. I was watching. He came in every game for Team Italy in the WBC.
Yeah.
I was like,
I've always kind of liked Weissert, to be honest. His stats aren't amazing, but I feel like he is like a
solid,
above average. Like, you bring him in middle relief innings. And like,
yes.
If he's your 8th inning guy, you're probably not feeling great about it. But as more of a depth piece, he's been nothing but solid.
Yeah, but if you have like Slayton and Whitlock and Chapman go like 2 or 3 nights in a row and you give him a break, like you feel okay with Weissert coming in.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's move to the next one. I've got Marcelo Meyer over under 99.5 games played, which is a low number. But for context, he has never even hit 92 games played at any level as a professional baseball player. Across minor leagues into the majors, his career high in games played is 91. He's been very injured. It seems like this year he's got a pretty clear path to not only making the roster, but being, in the lineup. I won't say every day just because of some of the comments that Cora's made, but at least most days. And, I don't see him necessarily getting sent down to the minors unless something drastic happens that we're not really expecting. He should be sort of a mainstay on the roster moving forward, but he hasn't been able to stay on the field. And so that's why I said 99.5 feels low, but will he get to 100 games or more?
If he stays healthy, which is a big if, then yes, you're right. 91.
Well, yeah, but that's part of the question.
If he stayed healthy and Romy Gonzalez was here, I would tell you no, right? But 91 games, 2024, 47 games, 2025.
To clarify,
AAA.
100 games, I'm saying at any levels. If he plays games in the minors, that would count towards this because I was just saying as a professional, 100 games total played.
No, I still think he does. I think he does. Cora really challenged him. I know the thing that we've talked about in this pod over and over again is whether or not he can hit lefties, and that's still to be seen. But I think with no Romy Gonzalez there, and we'll see who actually makes this roster because I think they're going to carry a ton of pitchers. Maybe Sogard makes it. IKF is definitely going to make it, but 6 to 1, half dozen the other, whether it's IKF or Marcelo Meyer, you might as well let Marcelo just play against lefties and figure it out. Mm-hmm. I think realistically, 100 to 120 games, I'll split the difference. 110 games is what Meyer's going to play this year. If he gets injured again, right, and he's out for the, was it 4th season in a row where he hasn't been able to finish the year? I'm done. He's dead to me. I'm done with him. But 99
should have flipped him for Marte.
Well, you know what? Like
we talked about that.
Seeing, yeah, I know it keeps but you're seeing how good Tolle is, and you're seeing how good Early is, and maybe that's the reason why they didn't do it because they really believe in them in the future. But they still have to figure that. That's a whole other conversation. But yes, I think he eclipses 99 games.
I agree with you. I agree. I think he's going to go over on this number. Obviously, we cannot foresee injuries. He's been injury prone, but I think the fact that he's got a clear path to playing time right now, especially with
Exactly.
Romy being hurt. And again, this is games played. This is not necessarily games started. So I do think there could be games where he's not starting against a lefty and then comes in the seventh as a defensive replacement or a pinch hit for when there's a righty reliever out there. So I do think like there's going to be more opportunity for him to get into games, especially with some of the, like with Romy out, like we mentioned. And there obviously are other options in the infield, and I don't think he's going to play every day, but 100 is a low number. Like if he does not play, if he does not hit this number, it's going to be a very, very disappointing season for him, regardless. Even if he, I mean, unless he's batting like 320 and hitting bombs, but I'm like, if he plays at his median level of like a talent play basically, and then only plays 100 games, we're going to be like, dude, how many more years can we go into it with thinking this guy's going to be like an impact guy on the team? Like they need him to be able to play 120 plus, in my opinion. And part of that, to your point, is if he's playing that many games, it means he's facing lefties, which means hopefully he's, holding his own there. We'll see. But I do think he's going to hit this number. I think that he's got the most clarity going into a season that he's had. The past few years he started in the minors, and I'm sure 2 years ago he thought like, oh, maybe I get the majors if I play well, but he wasn't sure. Last year played a lot in AAA, but there wasn't really a spot for him for a while. Then Bregman goes down, he gets called up. So like it was a kind of like uncertainty about when and if he'd be able to get to the majors. But now that he's there and should have, like we've been saying, just like it, the team is basically like he can easily play himself not only into a full-time starting role, but into like a top 5 guy in the batting order, in my opinion. Like if he plays how he's capable and has had the potential to play, like that, there is absolutely room in this lineup for him to become one of the main guys. So we'll see, but I do.
He's the X factor, man. Like he really is the
X factor.
That's
what I'm saying. Yeah, because
if
if he bats 290 and hits 20 homers, like we're gonna be like, hell yeah, and that's gonna be a huge boost for this lineup. I'm not expecting that kind of production, but I'm just saying like that's the kind of output he was advertised as, when he was coming up.
Corey
so
Seager,
it's not crazy to say that he could do that. Yeah, and Corey Seager's. He's been banged up, but when he has played, he's been like one of the best hitters in baseball, which makes it a good comp, I guess. But
yeah, fair comp. But let me ask you this: if Romy Gonzalez was not on the 60-day disabled list, would he have hit that 100 games?
I still would have taken the over, yeah, because I
would
think
have too.
Because I think that I don't like if they're gonna platoon him. I don't think they're gonna like not platoon him because Romy's out. If they were already planning to platoon him, because I'm like there are other options to put in the lineup to. We've talked about moving Cedon to second, Sogart, Nate Eaton, IKF. Like there are other guys they can rotate in, and just from a sheer volume perspective. But yeah, this is not my take on this is not affected by the Romy injury, but obviously that it doesn't hurt.
I fully expect Cedon to play some games the second this year. I think he's going to, but the fact that Romy's not there, I mean, on top of it, they really don't have anyone to be able, as we'll see what they actually go with the roster with, but they don't really have anyone to spell time with them. Like, yes, Durbin could play second if they want him to, but then who's going to play third? There's just not that many options. Like he has to play for 2 reasons. A, they don't have the depth, and B, because they
don't have the quality depth. I would say they have depth, but it's not quality depth.
Yeah, not for 70 games, right? 70 plus games they don't have. Yes, if Sogard makes his team or if Eaton makes his team, you can spell him for a couple of games. But yes, he needs to be playing 130, 140 games this year.
I think 120 would be a success for him, is what I would say. Like if he can get to the 120 mark, and obviously
I put him at 110 is realistic. I'm fine with 110.
Yeah, and like produce at, if he's hitting 270 or better with middle of the road power, it'll at least be a big step in the right direction. Obviously, like that would still be like in the grand scheme of things a little disappointing from what top 10 prospect throughout his entire tenure in the minors. So we would hope he can be more than that, but at least a step in the right direction.
Well, I mean, it's look, you know why? That's why they signed out. That's why they signed IKF.
Yeah,
because as bad as he might be against lefties, he won't be IKF bad. So you're like, I'd rather have him in there anyways.
Yeah, it's fair.
So, right? You'd rather have 130 games of Meyer than you would have having 100 games of Meyer and 60 games of IKF.
I'd rather start Meyer against every lefty than start IKF against lefties. Like because I'm like, just throw him in the fire. If he struggles, whatever. But like, you got to see what you have, and you got to give him the reps and the opportunity to improve there. And we've talked about this, that if he turns into a platoon player, it's a huge failure. Like his career, like I'm not gonna say he's a complete bust, but like he might be if he can't even like start every day. So that's like pretty bare minimum thing to ask for a guy that's a top 10 prospect. So I don't know. We'll see.
And arguably the number one overall pick, or people projecting the number one overall pick from that draft class.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Next one. Over under 7 MVP votes for Roman Anthony. And just for context, that would have put him in the top 15 in voting last season. So this does not mean first place votes. It just means that they got a vote. I don't know. I believe it's probably like you vote for a top 5 or whatever. So it could be 5th place votes, whatever, but 7 individual votes for MVP.
Over. And, you know, I'm actually someone who very much tempers expectations. On Twitter, I sit there and say, hey, can we slow our roll on Savage? Can we slow our roll on, you know, another player? I've seen many players from Jared Wright to Joba Chamberlain, who's had the sophomore slump. Roman Anthony's something different. Like, it's been a long time since I've seen a player get as much buzz and support from other players in Major League Baseball that I've seen Roman Anthony get. And there's been a lot of number one prospects that have come through. Roman Anthony's not the first number one prospect that's ever, you know, every year is the number one prospect, but the way other players talk about him is really impressive. You just listen to the way Bregman talks about him, or the way Team USA talked about him. In the WBC, I can make the argument him and Bryce Terang were the 2 best hitters on that team. 920 OPS, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, all tournament team selection. He had that big home run against the DR, that, you know, game-winning home run, which is one more game-winning home run than Aaron Judge has ever had in an elimination game. I got to throw that in there. And that team, and again, when you look at MVP as well, a lot of these voters don't look at just stats. They look at how the team performs. And last year when Roman Anthony played for Boston, they had the best record in all of baseball. And you vehemently saw the drop-off once he wasn't on that team. That offense went away. I think for that reason alone, I don't expect a sophomore slump. I mean, even the Venezuela game, which was very impressive, was watching him work that zone. For a 21-year-old, I don't know the last time I watched a player that young be able to command or work a strike zone the way he can. All the guys like Nick Kurtz and the other ones, right, they have a ton of power. They're very good players. But the maturity level of Roman Anthony coming into the second year, I don't see the sophomore slump happening. Like, you might be able to figure him out, but you're not going to fool him on a pitch. And for that reason and that reason alone, I think that he will have another very good year this year as he becomes and blossoms into what I believe is going to be probably a top 5 player in all of baseball for many years to come. I think he does get, was it 5+ votes? Yeah, 100%.
7, but yeah. I'm with you. I am also going to take the over on this because, I mean, again, getting that many votes isn't that hard. I mean, you have to be good, obviously, but again, that's top 15. So it's basically like in the AL, would he rank in the top 15 in terms of like MVP voting share? And I think
was it Sean top 15? You said,
yeah, like basically last year 7th would have put you tied for 14th.
Oh, 100.
It would have been a 2-way tie for 14th, or yeah, for 14th with 7 votes. So that's kind of where I based the number off of, to say, like, is he going to be in the top 15 in MVP voting next year? And I think over as well. And I think you laid it out really well, because it's like, he just like looks like he belongs. Like the World Baseball Classic was such a cool thing to see. Like, cause I mean, he was like playing every day over veterans that have made all-star teams and been
over
really
Byron
good
Buxton.
Yeah.
He played over Buxton.
Yeah. Buxton's like a really, really good player and is still, you know, at least in the back end of his prime. And I know the Twins haven't been very good, but he's been really good. And, you know, even guys like Gunnar Henderson weren't playing every day. Like Bregman got benched in the last game or the game before or something like that. Like there were guys that were just in and out of the lineup here and there. Roman played every day. And DeRosa felt confident penciling him in there despite his age, despite his inexperience. And I think the reasons you said are a big part of that, where it's like he just has professional at bats and he's not the flashiest. And I think a lot of times we see these like rookies, phenoms come up and they're really flashy and they have all these big highlights and like you get sucked in, and like a lot of times they are so good, but it's like I kind of love the just vibe of Roman and how it doesn't always come off that way, but it's just like he doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't beat himself. Like he plays within himself. He commands the zone really well. He's not trying to be some big power hitter, but he has power, but he lets it come to him. And so he's just so well-rounded. And I do think he's going to have a really big year this year. I'm not projecting him to be like in the top 5 in MVP voting or anything like that, because I think that's a lot to ask for a guy at his age. But if the Red Sox are a playoff team this year, then it starts with him. If he doesn't play at an all-star level, then I don't really see how they're going to make the playoffs, in my opinion, because the offense is just not going to have the reliable guy day in and day out. But I think he can be that. And so I'm going to take the over on this as well. And yeah, I think we're very lucky that he's going to be on the team for another decade. So
He's fun to. I mean, like if you're really into baseball, he's fun to watch. Watch him work the counts. I forgot when he hit the home run against Soto to take the lead against DR. What the count actually was? Was it 3-2, 3-1?
yeah, I don't remember the count either. I was watching too, but I don't think I remember the count.
He just worked. I mean, it's amazing a guy that age and how he commands the strikes. I get it. Kurtz does a lot more power, but Kurtz strikes out a lot more, and Kurtz doesn't have the same ability to command. Like he will maybe eventually, but it's not the same. I mean, if you look at who's the front runners to win the American League MVP, you got Judge, you got Junior Caminero, which I love Junior Caminero. I think he's a phenomenal
He's super
player.
good, yeah.
Yeah, you got those two in the AL East. I know Pete Alonso is a good player and everything, but I don't expect him. I even think Roman's going to finish ahead of Pete Alonso in the MVP vote. And I actually love Pete Alonso in terms of what he can do and bring to the plate. You look at the Central, you got Bobby Witt, right? But you got Buxton,
Skubal.
You got Skubal. He'll get votes. You're right. That's a good one. Riley Green will get votes.
He was 5th last year. I can read you I'll read you the top 15 from last year. So Judge obviously won. Cal Raleigh was 2nd, and then it went Jose Ramirez, Bobby Witt, Skubal, Julio Rodriguez, George Springer, Crochet, Caminero, Jeremy Pena, Byron Buxton, Nick Kurtz, Vlad, Cody Bellinger, and then Mikhail Garcia. That was the top 15.
Yeah, there's Garcia, Bellinger, someone else listed on there as well.
Yeah, I mean, he can easily finish above, half the people on that list.
Springer.
He has the kind of year that we think like Springer. I mean, Springer had a great year last year, but like he's another one of those guys that I'm like, all right, that was a little bit of an outlier from when he's been over the past 3 or 4 years. So we'll see if he's able to replicate that. And then the guys at the top are probably still going to be there. I don't know if Cal Raleigh's going to hit 60 homers again, but he's going to be good. And then, Pena is injured to start the season right now. Buxton, we just saw that Roman was playing over Buxton. So that's a good reference point right there. Like Bellinger, I'd be surprised if he had a better year than Roman at this point. So we'll see, but he certainly could work his way in there. And I think that, again, it all comes down to team success a little bit, to your point. Like, I think if they are a playoff team, he's going to be looked at as like the reason and like the face of the team and like the main guy. And so, the votes are going to come after that because
it's the reason why Pedroia won it over A-Rod that one year.
Yeah. It was just all, and it's all around impact too, where I'm like, you mentioned like Pete Alonso. I'm like, well, Pete Alonso's going to hit a lot of home runs, but he's going to strike out a lot. He's not a very good fielder. Like, he has other flaws. Like, Roman doesn't really have any key flaws. And as long as he keeps just like getting better, even just marginally throughout the season, like, he's just so good, like, as a well-rounded all-around player. Like, those are the kind of guys to get MVP votes. Bobby Witt Jr., Jose Ramirez, like Julio Rodriguez, and Judge, like, all those guys, really good fielders. Most of them are, a threat on the bases to steal. They've got power. They can hit for average. They don't strike out a lot except for Aaron Judge. But, it's not like any of these guys are one-trick ponies in the top 5. Like, that's how you get in the top 5, is you be really good across the board. And I think Roman's got the opportunity to do that.
I know we have to move on, but not to continue to glaze him. Baseball is a match of chase.
We can glaze him a little bit.
It's a chess game, right? Pitchers figure out the hitters, and then the hitters have to adjust. The pitchers adjust, and it's chess back and forth. We're playing a different game with Roman Anthony. I just don't see, if Roman Anthony doesn't do well, it's because of Roman Anthony himself. I just don't see where a pitcher is going to be able to figure him out, and he's not going to be able to adjust to it. Because he understands the strike zone so much, it's impressive to watch him up there, and you can't fool him. He's not locked in. I don't feel like he's locked in on a pitch like some other players are, where they're trying to guess fastball on this count, or looking for, a ball outside of the way, like, with like Campbell, like Christian Campbell, which we're not talking about today, but he, you bust him inside, and Campbell is not be able to hit. So then Campbell tries to adjust and be able to hit inside, and you go outside on him, and that's the game of cat and mouse and chess. That's not the game with Roman Anthony. It doesn't matter where on the plate you put that ball. He hits it well no matter what. He figures it out. The point with like Roman Anthony is that's why I don't expect him to have a sophomore slump, because I don't see a world in which a pitcher is able to figure out his weakness, Achilles heel, and be able to
Yeah.
hit him on it. I don't think he has an Achilles heel. I mean,
Mhm.
I think he's just going to be a really a really good to great player that will develop. And yeah, there'll be times where maybe he slumps and whatnot, but he won't have an Achilles heel.
Yep, it's fair. I'm right there with you. So cool.
Who's next?
Up next we got combined starts for Connolly Early and Peyton Tolle, and I've put the line at 17.5. And this is in the major leagues, obviously. For context, they started 7 combined last season. But for additional context, those were very much by necessity. They were banged up at the end of the year. They only had 3 reliable pitchers. Walker Buehler was dumped because he couldn't perform for the team. Dustin May wasn't very good, and then he got hurt. And so the back end of the rotation was very, very thin. They've got a lot more options this year. So, there's enough options where this number could be 0 and the Red Sox could still have a really good year. I don't think it's going to be 0, but just to put in more context there. So over under 17.5 starts for Tolle and Early combined.
Under. Even with the fact that Tolle or Early might start opening day, or no, sorry, opening week, whatever it might be. 17 is a lot for them, for a front office that has been very much vocal on trying to make sure that not vocal, but I mean, you've watched their histories as well. They're trying to make sure they manipulate the service time. I don't have the numbers ahead of me. I wish I remember what they were. It's something like 57 days for one of them. I forget what it was. I don't have them in front of me. I think 17 is very aggressive for them. I think you might see Early or Tolle make a couple starts at the beginning of the year just to see if Suarez is going to be okay. But I think to the point that we've talked about before, this is such a deep team that you don't, and if they pitch the way we expect them to pitch and there's no injuries on this team, then I think you're more looking at maybe 10 to 12 starts combined this year. And that's even with a guy like Suarez not pitching innings. Like eventually Sandoval's going to come back. Connor Crawford's going to be there. You already have Crochet, Suarez, Gray, Bayo, Oviedo. And they're not neither one of them are being considered for the bullpen. So yeah, that's what I put them at. I have them under, actually pretty much under, like 12. I have them at 12. What are your thoughts?
Okay. I went back and forth on this. I might have put the line a little high, but I'm going to zag a little and I'm going to go over just because they did get to 7 last year. And when was the debut for either of them? Not to like
but you said
August,
it's a necessity.
September.
Is that a necessity?
Sure.
So do you have them over because you think there's going to be an injury, or do you have them over because
I think that in the year 2026, you basically have to project that there are going to be injuries for starters in your rotation. That's just the nature of today's game. Like the 5 guys, they're not all going to start 30 games. They're just not, in my opinion. And I think that, Ranger Suarez, for a perfect example, like he's been in that 25 range. So that's 7 starts right there that have to go to somebody else essentially. Then, that's the other 4 guys. I'm like, Oviedo's like, we think he's, safely in that rotation. What happens if he struggles? Like how long is his leash? Probably not super long. Like Sonny Gray, people expect the numbers to bounce back a little bit because of the advanced stuff, said that he performed a little better than the results would suggest, but he's getting up there in age. What if he has a Walker Buehler season? You can't totally rule that out. Like he's on the older side. Like I don't think he will, but I think he's going to have a short leash too if that does happen. Buehler was out of the rotation by midseason. He was very bad. So I don't expect
different.
That. Of course, no,
but Sandoval and Connor Crawford are there. Do you think they would skip Sandoval and Connor Crawford to go to Tolle and Early though? That's what you're saying.
So not Tolle. I think that I'm more banking. I think Early could make 10 to 15 starts is more what I'm thinking, which again is like half the season, or a third of the season. And then I think Tolle could make a few, but I have lower expectations for Tolle for this season just because he's younger and not as far along in the major league system, which we've talked about. But I don't feel good about this. I'll say that. But I just am more like, Crochet was fully healthy all season last year. Like, is that going to happen again? Ranger Suarez has a history of not being super durable. Like, Bayo fully healthy last year. Is that going to happen again? So I just think rotations in 2026, like you have to bank on the fact that you're going to have 30 excess starts probably between your 5 that have to go to somebody else just because of wear and tear, or you skip a start or injuries or whatever it may be, or guys underperforming. Like it's such a variable position from a stat perspective year to year. So I'm kind of banking on the fact that I think Crochet is going to start 30 plus games. Other than that, I'm not positive anybody else on the team is going to start 30 plus. We'll see. Obviously, I would hope that they do and that these guys perform and are healthy. But I think
But
the
even
best
if they're
team.
not, even if they're not healthy, Sean, you're also saying that if two guys get injured per se, you're still putting Early over there over Sandoval and
I
Cutter
do.
Crawford.
I am. I
Okay.
do. I think that they don't mind Cutter being a bullpen guy this year, which I would like that personally. And then Sandoval is just, I don't know. I mean, he's not healthy. Like, I know he's going to come back at some point, but I'm like,
They gotta justify that contract. You look like an
I
absolute fool if you don't
but
do
I also
it, right?
could see Sandoval being like a trade chip, for example. Like,
You
I
gotta
don't know.
pitch to be a trade chip, though.
I think it would be crazy if we're in like July or August and Early's pitching in the minors and Sandoval's in the rotation. Like, that's just silly to me. Like,
Well, I agree with you, but that's the way
No,
this
I get what you're
business and
saying.
politics work.
I know, I
I think
understand.
Early should pitch 12 days out of 12 days over Sandoval. I agree with you 1,000%. But you know how this works. There's the Major League Baseball Players Association. There's agents involved with it. Like, you got to
get
make
it.
sure that these people are made happy, because if you don't, right, if I'm a Sandoval, whoever Sandoval's agent is, if he's not getting playing time, why would any of the agents going to be like, why would any of my players sign with you guys? You guys are not going to honor your verbal commitments to me. It's just the nature of the beast. It's just how it is.
I understand. Yeah, we'll see. That's the one I feel the least good about that we've gone through. But, I kind of feel like they'll, and it might be more in like the 14-15 range, and we'll see. But
I would love. I
Yeah.
have under, but I would love to watch them both pitch, especially early. I mean, early right now, and when Tolle develops and be able to get some ability to actually get some innings and length behind them. I think both of them are phenomenal. I'm excited by both of them. I just don't think it's going to be this year.
Yeah,
Sean,
fair.
we got time for probably one more. Which one do you want to go to?
Well, should we switch to some team ones?
Sure, go.
Well, let's do a couple and we'll go quick. So 30 home run hitters with the line being 0.5. So we have one 30 home run hitter. For context, we had 0 last year. The most recent non-Rafael Devers 30 home run guys we've had are Tyler O'Neill in 2024, who had 31, Hunter Renfroe, who had 31 in 2021. And other than that, we have not had anybody outside of Devers since 2019, so pre-COVID season. Nobody on this roster has ever even hit 30 or 25 home runs in a season outside of Trevor Story, but he lost it in 2019. Will we have a 30 home run hitter this season?
Zips projects
They
the
said
Red
we
Sox
won't even have a 20.
20, which should be the first time since 1974, which is crazy. I don't think we hit 30. I think me and you, Sean, I think the same thing. Let me ask you this question though: if we do hit 30, is it Contreras, Abreu, or Anthony? Which one of those three guys do you think will hit 30?
I would rank likelihood as Roman, then Willier, then Contreras.
I actually put Willier first.
I think it's fair.
Especially, and watching him WBC was great. And the comments, Cora has talked about him hitting lefties. This is his year. If anyone's going to hit 30 home runs, I put Abreu first.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Okay, we'll go through these quick. Then similar question, slightly different. 20 plus home run hitters, putting the line at 4.5. I think most people think that Trevor Story, Willier Abreu, Roman Anthony, Wilson Contreras, at least all should, if they're healthy, hit 20 plus. But to hit this over, it would have to be those 4 plus another person. So over under 4.5.
Abreu, I have Duran hitting 20 this year. Contreras and Anthony. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think Story's going to hit 20 this year. I worry about his injury.
So you're going under, and it'll be 4. But you
4.
swapped in. Okay. I also have 4.
Who are your guys?
I think Roman, Contreras, and Willier are the safest bets. Yes, Story is like, I could see him. I'm kind of going to cheat on this answer and say like one of Story or Duran. I don't know which one, but I don't think both will. So I'll just say 4. But it could be either, honestly. Or, so.
It's safe. It's Vegas and math odds safe to go under 4 because, again, Zips has no player hitting 20 home runs. Yeah. So
no, I agree on that.
That's why I go under 4 on that one.
Okay. All right. Most used lineup frequency. I have this at 9.5. So basically the most commonly used lineup that we have, how many times will that lineup play? And for context, last year, this number was 3 last season. We did not have any lineup that was reused more than 3 times through the whole season. So I set it at 9.5, which
that's
obviously
aggressive.
I know that's so it's more, can we get to 10 games with our A lineup throughout the season?
You know what? I could see where with this team's really rolling, it's around 15, 25 times. I think realistically the under 9 is 100% because Casas will be back at some time. I think Casas will throw. We'll see what ends up happening with Casas Yoshida together. Again, I would not be surprised if one of them gets traded before June. But I just think with those two themselves, I don't know how you get to +9+. Only reason why Devil's argument of why you'd be able to get 9+ is that Casas and Yoshida are both lefties, so you don't have that Ref Snyder right-handed platoon player that you had last year, and Ref Snyder gave you that ability to be down to where we were and injuries on top of it. But I just don't see how he gets to 9.
I'm gonna go under as well, and I'll say that because it's not because of the players necessarily, but I believe the stat has to do with like where they batted in the lineup as well. So like
That's a good point.
I think Cora, we might have the same 9 guys in 10+ times, but I think Cora is just going to move guys around as the season goes along. Like Roman might bat first, second, third throughout the season. Again, if like Durbin plays really well, he might move up in the order. If Meyer plays really well, he might move up. Conversely, if Story struggles, he might move down. Like there's just a lot of moving pieces, so I'm going to go under as well. But I do think if it was the same 9 guys in the lineup 9+ times or 10+ times, I would take the over.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, even Duran like there's a lot of the righty lefty stuff that you might have to move them all over the place.
Yeah. Okay. We'll wrap up with these two, which are bigger picture. Red Sox over or under 89.5 wins. They won 89 games last season. Their Vegas over under is 87.5. But I bumped that up to 89 just to basically say, do you think that they will win more games than they did a season?
Vegas is a bum. I can't believe these Vegas odds. They're ridiculous. I have them. I told you already before beginning of the show. I have them winning the American League East, so I have them over 89 games. I think they're a better team than they were last year. The AL East is stronger than it was last year. I agreed, but we don't have the unbalanced lineups that we used to have in previous years. I believe that they'll win over 89 games. This is a better team than we had last year. I remember Bregman was hurt for majority of the season, and we still won 89 games. So
that's fair. I'm going to go under, but like ever so slightly. Like, I think it's going to be like 88, 89 wins. Like, I think if the line was the 87.5, I would go over. But I think they're going to win like basically right at where they did last year. And to be honest, realistically, I think they're going to win 87 to 92, somewhere in that range would be my guess. I just think
I have them at 92. 92 is where
I just think like best case for them is probably what, like 90. Like they're not going to win. Like, they're not going to be like a 100-win team, for example. So I'm like,
they could be a 96-win team if Crochet and Suarez hit the way play the way that we think they possibly could play. Sonny Gray ends up being our number 5 starter, which is very impressive. I know he's 2 on the paper, but 5. And, Contreras has a good year. Duran has the year that this is why I love the beginning of the year, right? We talk about all this hopeful ideology that we have. Duran goes back to somewhere in between his 2024 and 2025 self. Roman Anthony takes a step forward. Marcelo Meyer, who we talked about being an X factor, takes a step forward. This team, again, we don't have unbalanced schedules. Outside the AL East, where's the threat coming from? The rest of the league, the rest of the AL.
Seattle, I think Seattle and Detroit are pretty good. I quietly think Seattle is probably the best team in the American League, honestly. And then I think Detroit, after adding Fromber, is quite formidable as well. But I hear you. The rest of the other 2 divisions are weaker across the board. But also the AL East is obviously like a madhouse where I'm like, and any of the top 4 teams could win the division and it wouldn't surprise me. So we'll see. Again, I'm clarifying that I think like it'll be 88 or 89 is basically what I'm guessing. I think they're like about as good as last season. They obviously got worse offensively, got better in the rotation. But we've talked about this. They've had a couple of outlier performances from last year. But again, we might get some breakout performances this year. So overall, I just feel like it's going to be net even. If you told me they win 91, 92, I would not be remotely surprised. And think it's very much in the realm possibility. But I do think they're going to be a playoff team. So I'll preface that. But I think it'll be a wild card spot.
People are going to choke you out for saying under on that.
No. I'm going to go wild card spot. And to be honest, I don't know if I'm ready to. I might need to look into a little bit more about who I have winning the division exactly. But I just feel like if you're looking at any of the 4 teams, odds are that they're not going to win it because if you're taking 3 versus 1, like I'm going to take the 3 as the other options. Okay, and then very last one. Over under 1.5 playoff games won. So basically,
over.
Will they make it out of the wild card round?
They will.
Essentially, is the question.
They're making it out this year. Look, if they face the Yankees again this year, this is a team that took them to Game 3. where if they had Roman Anthony in that game and Bregman was injured or healthy, they could have shot at beating them. I mean, that was a team that went in there limping. That's why when Yankee fans try to troll us about Cam Schlittler, I'm like, yeah, you face a double A lineup. You got Nathaniel Lowe off of like the dumpster just to play that game for us. I gotta give Breslow credit on this one. The way they've stacked this pitching staff up just is not favorable for the Yankees. You could legitimately have if they play the Yankees again, where you have Crochet and Suarez both left-handed pitchers, and Suarez is a big game pitcher who's proven it in Philadelphia. So that's a huge bonus, right? The Andy Pettit type player, the David Wells type player that can come in the playoffs, and the El Duque player that just steps it up. And then, I don't know, Tolle, maybe Tolle's ready to go, or a Sandoval, one of those guys. I mean, 3 lefties. I mean, you could have a very hard time if I'm the Yankees, where they're very lefty dependent, like us, very much like us, but they're terrible. Like Jazz Chisholm is not very good against lefties. Trent Grisham is not very good against lefties. Ben Rice is not very good against lefties. Bellinger actually is for whatever reason, but you know, and of course Judge is as well. But it's Judge. We watch Judge under pressure. He's terrible in elimination games. So I 100, and again, we just said it, right? I believe the rest of the divisions, the rest of the league is not very strong. So I would say yes.
I'm going to go over as well. I do, actually. I think they'll make the ALDS this year, which is basically that's the question. Will they be in the ALDS? I guess in theory, you could say they could win less than 2 games and make the ALDS by avoiding the wild card. But essentially, the question was like, are they going to get out of the wild card round? And I'm going to say yes as well this year. I do think that going into the year, I think that they're a little bit more well-rounded. Obviously, the offense going into last year had more firepower, but just from the pitching staff is, better across the board. And I also think that, and of course, I'm probably in danger zone having any faith in this, but they're in a position this year going into the year where I think at the deadline they could actually pull off something more significant than they have in years past just because of all the surpluses they have. But Craig's track record at the deadline is pretty much a D+ at best, if we want to be generous. He's not been very good. He's been a lot better in the offseason. So we'll see. But I'm just saying, like, we've got guys that we can trade from the major league roster. We've got pitching depth in the minor leagues. Like, there are more pieces to move around than in years past, in my opinion. So maybe they get that 30 home run guy in the middle of the season. Maybe they upgrade one of the spots in the rotation. Maybe they add another strong bullpen arm. They haven't really done any of that stuff in the past few seasons. So I think they're in a better position to do that going into this year. And I think they're probably a little bit more open to it because I do genuinely believe that they think the roster is incomplete. I think in years past, they felt pretty good going in. Like, we like the roster. This year, they can say whatever they want. We heard the quotes to start the offseason. Like, they didn't meet all their goals. And so I do think that there's opportunity for them to add more on top of that to at least recoup some of the things that they thought they might get in the offseason. So with that said, I do think that they will make the ALDS this year and be a little bit more competitive in the playoffs because also it's a young team and they got more experience now.
ALCS or bust, which is not saying much, right? Like, I want to win a World Series or be in a World Series.
I think if they make the ALDS and lose in competitive fashion, it would still be a successful season because I'm going to treat it as building blocks and say, we were better than the year before. So then next year, the year after, I would hope for ALCS.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, Sean, if they win 100 games this year, that's something crazy, win 100 games, and they lose in the ALDS, you're not going to be happy. I'm telling you right now, if this team is dominant all year, you're going to say, this is a 100-win game. I know I said before the year started, so we'll see. We'll see how it plays out, how it looks. Sean, as we wrap this up, good show. What are you doing? What are your opening? Do you have any opening day tradition? Where are you going to be this year for opening day?
I think we talked about this a little bit. My only real tradition is I've got a couple buddies that we have this group chat, just the 3 of us, and we never text in it except for on opening day. Every opening day we text and we're like,
that's a
happy opening day. We do it every year, just the 3 of us.
That's a great one.
One of them's a Nationals fan, one of them's a Mets fan, so then we do a little back and forth. And
Poor National guy.
Hey, I mean, they got the most recent World Series of the 3 teams. I'll say that.
I know, but I mean, how do you watch it? Like this, it's gotta be terrible to be National. Like, it's just your seasons are over. Like,
it's very fun to make fun of my Mets fan, honestly, though. I remember making fun of him last year about how their opening day starter was the failed setup guy for the Yankees in their bullpen from the year before, Clay Holmes. So that was fun. And they were quite disappointing last year. So, a lot of negative energy in that chat most of the time of like, yep, we're going to suck this year. So, but I'm looking forward to do that again. As far as where I'll be, we've talked about this off air a little, but I'm actually going to be out in Arizona. I'm going on my bachelor trip this upcoming week, so I'm very excited for that. But I actually have a fantasy baseball draft tonight with a couple of my friends that are in the draft with me that will be on the trip with me. So we will definitely be tuning in, and I'm going to be watching at least a little bit, even though I'll be a little occupied. But at the very least, I will be, playing catch up, trying to.
Do you have your roster spot, like where you're picking in the draft? Do you know yet?
Yeah, I'm going second, and I'm probably going to take Judge, and but
who's going first this year? I haven't done one yet. Yeah.
Ohtani's got to be one. Yeah.
Who does?
But yeah, we'll see if I get any Red Sox. I'm very interested to see the range that Roman would go, because I could see people like reaching high for him in 3rd or 4th round to like bet on the upside, but I also could see people being scared away.
Some people might take him in the 2nd round. Go look at his baseball card sales. I'm telling you right now, just to be able to, it's exciting to get on that train as well, but I can write you a whole reason why you would not draft the 2nd. Who do you think is going to go 3rd overall, though? Will it be Witt? Will it be?
Probably Witt. I think I would take Witt 3rd personally, but I mean, you can't go wrong with like Jose Ramirez or something like that. I mean, he's so good too. So, but then the pitchers start going in the back end of the 1st. Like I would love.
I never take a pitcher in the 1st round.
I would love to get Crochet in the 2nd round, but I'm going to be towards the end of the 2nd, so I don't think he's going to make it to me, sadly. But we'll see.
When I used to be on the radio in Detroit, that was our thing. We used to do fantasy baseball all the time. We talk all about fantasy baseball, and I always make the big thing like you never draft a pitcher in the 1st round.
Yeah.
In fact, when I would try to get those strikeouts back, I would draft the guys, the relief pitchers, like 100. I used to make the 100+ strikeout relief pitchers potential. That's where Chapman used to be so great. Like Chapman used to get you 100+ strikeouts a year, and for fantasy purposes, that's how you would make up for maybe having like a Ranger Suarez on your team, right? You back in the day, like a Jared Weaver, those type of guys. Like once you had him paired him with Chapman, like you won the strikeout thing, right? It's a big difference.
Yeah. No, it's a fair call. Are you? What are you doing for opening day exactly?
I took the day off. I'm gonna watch it. The TV right there, right over there.
Nice.
I'm gonna watch TV, put it on, maybe have my work computer laptop on me, but I'm gonna be watching baseball, and I'm excited for it. I really am. I know it's freezing outside from the Northeast and everything, but I'm really excited to watch baseball this year. Just
who's starting for the Red? Hunter Green's out, right? So is it Andrew?
Yeah, Green's out. I don't know who they're starting. I doubt they're gonna start Burns.
Probably
I don't think they're
Abbott.
gonna start. Maybe Abbott.
He was good last year.
He was. It would make sense to a lefty-heavy Red Sox lineup that you start lefty like Abbott. Makes sense because you have Green out, you got Rhett Lauder, you've got Burns. Who else they have? I don't know who the other 2 guys are.
Yeah,
I don't even know. The
totally
fifth
sure
guy.
who the back guys are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet it's. I would bet it's Abbott, but we'll see.
Yeah.
They have Brady Singer too. I forgot about him from the Royals.
Singer's a good player too. Like they have a quality. I mean, they made the playoffs last year for a reason. They have a decent rotation, better than you think. I don't understand how Abbott pitches so well. I've watched Abbott pitch. I've watched Abbott pitch in person in Colorado. The guy throws like 92. He's a lefty, maybe because he's a lefty. That works for him. But he's not very overpowering.
2.87 ERA last year. Very good.
I don't see why. I can't figure out why. Watch him. He's not that great. Yeah, if he can get 8th in the Cy Young voting, Roman Anthony will get
top 14 to MVP. Yeah.
Andrew Abbott gets Roman Anthony get top 14. All right, Sean, good show. For those that listen to us, longer show than normal, but very good. Happy opening day for those that are tuning in and watching afterwards. If you like what you heard, please make sure that you liked and subscribe wherever you're listening to. Sean, any last words for the people out there about opening day?
Just that I'm excited that the next time we are on air, baseball will have been played in the regular season.
And we'll be in first place.
We can do less guesswork on what we think is going to happen and talk about what's actually happened. So
over under, Sean, when we come on live next, we'll be in first place.
I guess first place or not. I'll go under. I don't know. They might go 2-1 and someone's going to go 3-0.
First place.
All right, 3 games in.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a good night. Enjoy your opening day.